Harry Shearman. I'm the Member of Parliament for Huddersfield, which you can imagine, rather crude remarks at the beginning. But I want to say this. I love this place. I come here all the time. It is the centre of innovation in Huddersfield. It is always doing interesting and exciting stuff, and it brings together a whole range of people from all over Britain, and very often all over Europe and beyond. But can I just say this, that I often give a little talk to kids deciding on apprenticeships, as I did this morning in Almondbury School, and I say, you do know that only 10% of people in this country make anything anymore. Yeah? You know, a lot of people out there, I go to universities, I go all over the place talking to them, they don't know what Britain's like. Only 10% of us make anything in this country anymore. 1% in agriculture, 30% working in public services, that's education, and working with the council, and working in health. So 60% are in private services. So let's get that, that's Britain today. And also, Huddersfield today, and our industrial revolution became, I always say, because of cheap power, cheap energy, flowing from the Pennines, turned the water mills, gave us a chance to make things. For some reason we managed to breed sheep, catch them, shear them, and my name's Shearman, of course, and we were able to spin and weave to a high level. But people forget that there's a third element in why the Industrial Revolution started in towns like this. And the third element is entrepreneurs. Out of the, was it the water? Was it the atmosphere? Was it the Methodist religion? I don't know. But we produced entrepreneurs that put all this together. We also produced people with great skills of innovation. They knew about design. They knew about what customers wanted worldwide. And you know, within a few years, we were exporting the finest textiles in the world all over the world. So, and I have to tell you a story because this was because we got Italian guests. A very famous former Conservative politician called Michael Portillo now makes his living on a television show going around in on trains saying how wonderful places are. And he was in Europe, he was going to Milan, and he said, controversially, that Milan is the design capital of the world. And he said, I'm going to order the best suit in the best tailors, so I will have, you know, the best of all things, in Milan. He went into the best tailors, he ordered, they measured him up, and they brought him the rolls of cloth in order to choose. Every one of them was made here in Huddersfield. I think that was really rather nice. Partnership between Italy craftsmanship and our beautiful Worcesters. But all I can say is the talent that's here today, welcome anyone who's not from God's own town in God's own county. You know, if you're not lucky enough to live or be born in Huddersfield, as Harold Wilson was, whose centenary is next March the 11th. Huddersfield, working in Huddersfield and innovating in Huddersfield, let's work together to make something really brilliant in terms of producing wealth, but producing a good life for the people of this country. Thank you.
Companies, textile manufacturers are active members here. There will soon be 100. Not too soon, I hope, because I promised Martin Jenkins a bonus. If we get 100, so I hope it takes some time. But I'd like to add my thanks for your attendance, and you're welcome, really welcome to come and listen to what we're planning to do with this project. We're going to focus on a 4-year project, a European project, called Horizon 2020. So it's what used to be called a framework programme, but this one's called Horizon 2020. And it's made up in a very different way than previous ones. Horizon 2020, Jess is the expert, but you're allowed to do things in 2020 that might have a commercial application. So suddenly we're interested. But a lot of you people know a heck of a lot more about all of that than we do. But what we're doing now, we're building a community across Europe. And we're going to talk to you about how us and 14 other organisations are already on this journey together. 6 months into a 4-year journey. But I know this one, unlike the vast majority of projects, the money stops and they fall off the end. This one I know is going to carry on. But Jesse was saying we want dozens and hundreds more organisations working with us. Now it's going to be, what's it about? That's what we're going to be looking at today. but we're going to talk about what this all about. We call this a workshop because it's not going to be a series of lectures, and we want you to engage. Objectives to the day in good fashion. Community of interest meeting. It's the first community of interest meeting across the whole project. It tends to be happening here because I tend to say in our project meetings, yeah, this is all very interesting, I really want to do something. And if we're going to affect any change where we live, although we're part of a big European movement here, we need to do things where we live. So we tend to do things here because we've got a lot of friends, a lot of networks, people from universities, we've got much more common ground with where this is going, industry people, schools, everybody, designers, manufacturers, environmental lobby groups. Some of the stuff we're doing is amazing. This is a great platform to move it all forward. And I've started using it again because everything we're looking at now, this is so true. I don't know if some of you are old enough to have ever heard of Jerry Garcia. He was playing a band called the Grateful Dead. And when you look at some of the things he said in the 70s, boy, they're wise now. And this is basically saying, this is true in all sorts of, it's no good to be the best of best. Singers, you have to be the only people doing what you do. You know, then you've got a chance, then you can get investment, then you can get partners. So the idea about you doing something that is the next step beyond. Celia's here from the Textile Growth Programme, brilliant programme giving companies money to invest in new capital equipment. The output is new jobs. Our sector is growing fast. It's predicted in the UK to be 20,000 new jobs in textile and clothing by the year 2020. What a turnaround since the last few decades. And that's happening because people say things are getting repatriated. There was a guy on the telly yesterday morning, if you watch BBC, actually in the north of England, bringing work back home from China. We're training sewing machinists now, today, in our studio. We've got 25 people coming in here for assessment. People need machinists again because manufacturing is coming home. And you know why people are bringing it back? People are demanding better quality. People are wanting lower manufacturing costs, lower logistic costs. But most importantly, they want improved customer service. They want more customised products. Increasingly, people who are discerning people with disposable income, they don't want someone like everybody else. They want something that they want. They might even want a hand in designing it, or manufacturing it, or knowing what it's come from, or what the ethical cost is. You know, what's where trainers that have been made by 9-year-old kids in the Philippines. Most of us can ignore that, but we know where the brands are at. But they want it faster, speed of delivery, manufactured close to home. And people are interested in greener manufacturing technology and trying new products. Now, but we're in the textile sector, and I don't get very excited about a lot of environmental projects because textile manufacturers will not spare a penny. You know, say Huddersfield man will cut a current in half. So you can always tell a Huddersfield person, but you can't tell him much. But I mean, these are people who built their business on efficiency. And they won't go into a greener environment, a greener manufacturing environment, unless they can save money. They're not going to spend a lot more money because the customers.
Magic in this place. And there's magic in your ability to bring people together. This is what we're doing is one of our partners is the Tavistock Institute in London. They do evaluation of interventions, policy interventions, and stuff like that. And they examine some of the main paradigms we're working with. And the first two for me were not a surprise. One was ecosystems, and the second was complex systems. The third was large-scale change. And what we were actually doing is to try and put into practice what is actually a theory. There was a theory about it, kind of surprised me, of large-scale change. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to explain how we think this can happen, because a lot is happening. The question is, can we give a framework so all of this lot of stuff that's happening doesn't sort of get grabbed by somebody, doesn't flame up to excitement and then die out, but it all sort of works together to actually get to where we all want to go. Reduce the environmental footprint by 20%. That may be a tough one as well. Machines like the one that Bill showed you can can make a big difference. But having that happen across an entire sector is quite a... And in order for that to happen, you have to influence the whole business ecosystem. We can't just have one clever startup, even that makes millions in the city. We need to influence a whole community of people, whole chains of the way people do business. We can't is shifting from competition based on cost, which is driving the whole thing and which is killing people off one by one, to a competition based on knowledge. If we can make that shift, the whole story changes entirely. Because who can compete on knowledge? Places like this, people like you, communities like this. Who can compete on knowledge? Europe can compete on knowledge. Competing on knowledge sounds kind of nice. It's the kind of thing most of us would like to do. That's the kind of challenge that sounds like fun. Competing on cost is not fun. Is it possible? Is it possible to make that happen? A business lab is already doing it. There are a lot of people who are already doing this kind of thing in a certain way, with a certain goal. We want to take these labs, give them a sort of common framework, though, which may mean tweaking what Bill and everyone here is doing 5% to align with what everybody's doing and making it all be able to connect seamlessly. So then we have a network of labs that are working together, and everybody's doing something a little different, so everybody can have something to contribute to something else. But the main thing, we're not starting new. We're not setting up totally brand new operations. We're taking pieces of community centers, research centers, business support centers, people that come from all different, that are already standing up on their feet, they're already sustainable, but we're giving them a common purpose and a reason to talk to each other. You can do that from sort of three perspectives. Some people probably are doing more of one than the other. You can think of it like a designer. Designers think in a certain way. I know, I used to be one. And you think in sort of an aesthetics of the way all the pieces fit together. You don't just make cute clothes, nice clothes. You can design services. You can design business strategies. But a designer thinks in a certain way. A maker thinks in a different way. A maker thinks with their hands, sort of. A maker thinks in material terms, and a maker appreciates substance. And that's a different perspective. And it's nice to see them interact. And the third kind of labs are place labs, where innovation comes out of the place, where innovation comes out. Innovation is about creativity. Creativity is about culture. Culture is about where you were born, how you grew up, how the community around you told you society works. So we need laboratories that take things from these three perspectives, put them together, and see innovation, how innovation can come out of that, the labs to do. I personally think that innovation should be done for the enjoyment of doing it. But at the same time, you need to be able to think, what is the possible impact on business? What could a business person do with this? And let's face it, somebody who's good at being creative and being lavish is usually not a good business person, is not a good entrepreneur. It's just the DNA is different. And so let's let the people who are good at doing business do business. And let's get the people who are good at being creative, be creative, and with due respect and mutual respect, they talk to each other. And if you frame things like that, then the creative people can be creative and the business people can be businessy. And to design together with us how this is going to work, what the website's going to look like, what are going to be the criteria to bring in labs that we want to be part of the network. What are we looking for pilot businesses? We're looking to align with, I don't want to go into all of these things, but as Bill said, a lot is going on. You see a lot going on under the surface. New technologies, new business models, people setting up factories in villages where people can have a decent life and work in the factory, people who plant 10 trees for everything you buy. People are, a lot of stuff is boiling under the surface, and they're kind of all lonely out there, and we would like to put them together. But we're also interested in the artisans, the factories that have just closed, the factories that are still working, the people that know how to do things. So why can't we put these people into connection with these people and fill in the gaps with these labs when they see labs? The market we have now and the market relations we have now is one out of an infinite number of possible combinations of markets. So why not reconfigure the whole thing? Okay? In order to do that, you've got to take the market as it currently is, chop it into pieces, snip where where there's tension in between buyer and seller, and there are a lot of places like that, and then create a safe, low-risk environment where people can feel comfy and try to connect in different ways, in new ways.
Someone was talking to me about a company in Holmfirth who, what discussion did we just have?
We think that the company has downsized quite significantly, and that would suggest that there's an empty building that's still got all the infrastructure capable of supporting textile business or businesses, still with a significant part of ongoing business there, and the skills and the networks, and that's just got to be ripe for an interesting lateral discussion.
That worked this morning.
Do you want to see my
Pull it
weight?
out.
Yeah,
Yes.
what did she came back with that. Material. We all know it's a tragedy when 100 plus people lose their jobs, but everything is still there. Somebody's cut their credit insurance.
And the
That's why it's
knowledge is
gone.
still there.
The
Sorry.
knowledge is
The
there.
knowledge is
We all
there.
know that makes sense, but the problem is, well, yeah, but who's going to do it? Where's the time? Where's the money to make that happen? To bring all the people together to make that happen? Well, at last, it's here. This is where the resource is, to pay people daily rates to make those things happen, to bring those things together. And there's never been anything like this in my book. Every time we get a project, we've got to start 20 companies or train 1,000 people. This isn't about that. This is about, have a think about what you've got, what's happening. This is resource material. We all know it's a tragedy when 100 plus people lose their jobs, but everything is still there.
Launching right now. This is the first time, and it's an internal pilot cycle, as I said. It's sort of let's test out to see how the whole machine can work. How do we let people in, shall we say? The main criteria, and I'm going to go through this, is that we've defined a set of principles who are going to, and then create a safe, and we're designing the rules of the game. We think that this is a governance principle. We are trying to orchestrate a process here and not command it and not drive it. And that the rules of the game, and this goes back to the principles and it goes back to the potential of the branding. It needs to be a shared endeavor and a shared purpose. And the governance of that can only be a participatory government where the rules of the game. And that's why this first cycle is so important, why I think it's kind of exciting to the idea of being part of it. Because it means that you're being invited to co-design a platform, a landscape on which in the future other people could come in and prosper. Next year there will be a third call for business services. But we need our platform to be a little more mature by then, and there will also be a first of the calls for business startups, because our impression is that this whole mechanism that we're doing will generate business opportunities, startups with new business services that we can't even imagine yet until the ball gets rolling. But for the moment, we need labs on the one hand and businesses on the other. These are our principles. You can just go through the list because I'm going to go through these one by one. Based on those set of principles, we've also generated and are validating now a data management policy of how we manage the data, how we manage the software platform we're dealing with. A series of principles like that can generate just about everything. And we have also generated, these are going to be the evaluation criteria that that the labs are going to evaluate themselves with, and the pilot proposals will be evaluated on top of. As you pilot, the ability to identify what's wrong and identify a problem that can be concretely resolved. An openness to being engaged with people wanting to innovate together, because the magic has to happen between people as much as it will happen inside the boxes. Viability. We preferred viability to creation of value or to economic sustainability, because viability sort of means something that can stand up on its own feet in a certain sense. I won't go too much into details. Multiplicity is about encountering diversity, and also customer tastes, and for the labs, it's being open to both professional and non-professional competencies. Respect is an important one that we went through a lot. Respect is, I think, probably an important part of the emergent business models that isn't said clearly enough. When you see something that shows respect for the wool, or respect for the people that made that wool, respect for your wallet, respect for the environment, building respect into a business or into a thing is really important. And let's reframe the whole debate about privacy and authors' rights as a question of respect, and it really helps us to situate things in the right places. And the final one is responsibility. Here I think we also have the question of the certification question, because responsibility is just a simple question of, also being on time, being legal in terms of the work environments, respecting the stuff. You can complain, but in the meantime you respect them, and so on and so forth.
We had some synergy, I think, with the people in Amsterdam. It's a good established group in the park in Middle Amsterdam.
They're leading the pilot.
Yeah, and I would say this is all very interesting. I've had rooms with a lot of social scientists, brilliant minds, excellent project people, really good thinkers and futurologists. And I said, well, in Huddersfield, we would have to talk to people about what this means for them. Because everyone's got some bits and pieces, and they'll probably think, could this fit? Could that thing actually happen? That really logical thing now happen within this framework? So we said a couple of things. I said, this isn't a project, Jesse. This has to be a movement, and a global movement, an irresistible global movement, because it makes so much sense. And that's kind of stuck a bit. And I've also said, we know the people to bring in. We need to sit and talk to this before it's formed, with the multipliers, with the universities who deal with people with new ideas. If people got a new idea, they've never go to universities now, or other offices, with the local authority, who understand the whole of the big creative sector, with the business support people, with all sorts of people. And let's say, do you fancy the sound of this? Do you fancy signing up to this? I think where some folks went today, Tom Hainsworth's factory, 8th generation, up there in Stanningley, made the cloth for the redcoats in the Battle of Waterloo, would you believe? They've got a lot of space now. They've got fabulous supply chains. They know their material inside out. Global business. He wants a lot of new young people to come into that company. He will provide the business environment, look after all that stuff. He wants them to look at his markets, his chains, his materials, everything else, and use his stuff to do new things. So these folks have got a beautiful incubation space. Tom's got an innovation department. So that's a real no-brainer.
So this is really what we can offer here from Huddersfield. So really, it's principally a new way to design and make new things. So we can help by giving you help and advice on how to establish what you're looking to achieve, maybe clarify your objectives, the markets, the materials you'll need to use, and possibly establish the USP. And then with that, giving you access to industry best practice and avoiding possible pitfalls. Because we don't expect everybody that comes along to know anything even about what they're doing. It might just have a great idea, and it might be something really good that we can run with, but we're here to help and advise what best way to achieve it would be. So the best practical ways to achieve those goals. And then advice and research into the product. So, and the market, competition and current trends. So it's just everything about what's already out there and where your niche would be and how you would fit into all that. Product guidance, again, this is more about the actual products, it'll be about when we source and the fabrication, with fabrics out there, whether it needs to be knitted. This is just if it's about garments within, obviously it's because of a lot wider audience, we would involve other people within our partnerships if we needed to take it outside our building. So it would be such as processes involved from start to finish. And then introduction to potential manufacturing partners, which is what I'm just saying. So even after you've got to that stage, it might be introducing you to people that could then maybe take it a step further and actually start producing for you, manufacturing that. We also can help, and I would be here to help from the actual the initial ideas stage to formulating those ideas and thoughts that you've got into actually maybe doing the pattern cutting, doing the designs, doing the specs, right through to doing sampling, initial development samples, maybe wear trials, fitting process, and using all the things that the facilities that we've actually got here. We've got some great things already here, so we've got the weaving workshop, we've got the clothing and design studio, which is fully equipped, and we've got, well, I'll come back to these in a minute, we've also got the testing labs, we've got everything there. Within that, there's also the chance to do the help and guidance on, if you are looking at it further for the business potential, it's actually on the costings and the marketing planning of that. And with that, we would then, this is our hub, to the access that you've got within our umbrella to actually, so the first part is actually our facilities now can utilise us and me, but the next bit is utilising the people that with our network already. So within that you're going to have legal advice on company formation, contracting, manufacturing, working with local companies that can actually manufacture for you, marketing advice and expertise, online support, commercial and social platforms, which you've already touched upon, things like the NIM platform, and then access to finance and maybe to other premises, the local universities and schools. So there's expert knowledge there already, like we already work with Leeds on things like fabric technology and things that, you know, if we want to go delve deeper into something, they're there.